The top 4 reasons why I believe every young man should do door-to-door at least once in their lives for at least 3 months. Number 1 is probably the most obvious, so I won't spend much time on it. That is the fear of rejection, overcoming the fear of rejection. When you do door-to-door and you expose yourself to the extreme variety of characters out there, types of people that are out there, and you're there with something to offer, and you're coming to them where they're not expecting you, they didn't invite you, they don't know who you are, they don't know anything about what you do or why you're there, man, you talk about difficult. Being able to just endure the rejection that is such an inevitable part of every single day, not even just the long term, but I mean every single day you get rejected, every single day you hear no. Not every single day will you come across a super nasty person though, and I think it's worth clarifying that. I've been doing this job for a little while now, and it's actually not that common of an occurrence. So certainly they're out there where these just nasty, miserable people will just like completely try to take away your day. Being able to not just endure that, but to basically like brush it off, not dwell there, not get angry about it, not get upset, not do anything stupid, not say anything that you don't mean and that is going to get you in trouble professionally or even like personally, trying to like, I don't know, like other things that might happen for other types of people. I'm a super not confrontational person, and a lot of the time I literally like am able to laugh it off, and I'm very proud of myself for that. And I kind of came into this job with a little bit of that prep already done from doing other kinds of this type of social work in the pickup field, which you might have already known from my last channel, Sober Social. But this job is this like where you're actually coming to someone where they weren't expecting you. It's all the more harsh, I guess, of rejections. But what you realize doing the job for a little bit is that those, even the no's that you hear, the majority of them are really not that bad. They don't even, like, they're not rude or anything. They're just, like, people are so, you probably feel this yourself, right? The society that we live in, maybe it's a good thing. We've been kind of conditioned and trained to be nice, you know? It's hard for a lot of people to say no. And so they're like, yeah, maybe, you know, maybe if I'm, you know, maybe later, you know, we're not really interested, but give me a call, or, you know, let me think about it, let me do my research, da-da-da-da-da-da. They just don't want to like hurt your feelings. They don't want to reject you, right? And then my point is, I've yet to come across somebody that was able to even remotely ruin my day because of what I know is required. And as far as my mentality going into door-to-door and my practice with that in the past, and now reinforcing that here in doing door-to-door, you know, and reinforcing that reality that I'm living in, positive reality, regardless of if it's delusional, because I prefer that. I'm like, you know, fuck it. I don't care if it's accurate. I want to live in a bubbly world, and that's where I live. I don't care what you have to think about it, right? Anyway, I've already spent too much time. Let's move on to number 2. So number 2 is not quite as obvious of a skill. This actually just hit me, the presence of this skill and the importance of learning it in this job, and how, like, wow, how exciting that is because of where else you can apply it and how you can apply it in every other situation in your life, like playing poker, or, you know, going to some wedding, or having a conversation with someone brand new, being able to like understand what a child is going through and their limited development, and being able to connect with them on a deep, like genuine way. Reading people, being able to not just be relentless and clear in your intention and understanding why you're there, being able to explain it confidently, unapologetically. This is number 3. We'll get there. Number 2 is, while remaining on that purpose, remaining on that straight line path that you're also cultivating through doing door-to-door, being able to understand these people that you're interacting with, being able to understand how are they feeling at that moment. What, like with you being there and with you talking to them and the way that you're coming across to them, not being so caught up in your own world that you're only worried about how you're, like whether or not whether or not you look stupid, whether or not you're being judged, but being able to take some of your attention and your concern and impart it over to them. Like for example, if I'm knocking after 6 o'clock here, now that it's winter, it gets dark here in Austin about 6 o'clock. And so if I'm knocking after that time, I take into consideration it's dark, even though it's like, it's only 6:30 or 6:45 p.m. It's not like anybody's asleep, but because it's dark, we naturally, like, I can relate to this. I would feel the same way if I wasn't doing door to door and I was just some like homeowner and some guy was knocking at after dark. You have to take that into account and address it in a way that's going to speak to them and speak to that concern. That's just one example, but other 10 million different examples come from all the unique situations that people are in. Being able to very quickly and accurately understand what this person is feeling, what they're thinking, why they are leaning towards no, because most people are, and how you can hopefully get better at refining the way that you speak to them, adjusting your tonality, adjusting the pace of your pitch, adjusting the emotion that you're giving them, whether it's confidence or whether it's ease, and all of that coming from like just repetition, just practicing again and again, but that sculpting consciously of how is this person feeling? What are they going through? What is their concern? How can I address that? And all of that right here, right now, this present moment spontaneously, so that it's not something that you can like study for. I mean, you can do a little bit of analysis maybe after the fact to improve and speed up your learning curve, but really it's about that spontaneous, completely instantaneous responsiveness, understanding in the moment how they're feeling. And like I just it's an unbelievable skill that I've just last night literally it kind of spoke to me, like that insight just like came out of nowhere. I wrote it down. And now it's just like a matter of getting better at it. Okay, number 3. All right, number 3. Number 3 is probably the most powerful one. And number 4 is more of like a bonus that kind of goes into number 3. Number 3 is what I'm going to call the hunter's mentality. Okay, this has everything to do with proactive, clear, straightforward, unapologetic, purposeful, intentional, consistent action. Your results-oriented action. There's a lot that goes into this, but I think at the foundation, it's about taking responsibility for taking ownership over your results, not being a victim. Now, I'm not saying that you are this or have been, but I know that I have in the past, and it's not like, it might be kind of ironic to say, but I feel like maybe it's not entirely my fault. We kind of live in a culture where that's very normal. Maybe that's just how humans are, I don't know, but it's not how you have to be, and it's not like hard. I mean, it takes work to own up to your results and to actually demand a higher standard from yourself. It takes work. But it shouldn't be viewed as scary. It is the preferred choice. I guarantee you that. Okay, because when you get a little bit of momentum and you start feeling not just the results that you're creating, but just the power that you have been given to have control over those results and to take ownership over them instead of like passing off your life to all these other, all the circumstances that you're around, the people that are in your life, the people that used to be in your life and what they might have done to you or not done for you. And it might feel good in the present to pass off that responsibility, but I'm sure you're already aware, you probably, if you're watching a channel like this, you probably have already read about this and like understand that immediately gives them all the power. It gives whatever it is that you're blaming all the power over your results and your circumstances. So that's part of the hunter's mentality, is breaking out of that conditioning and realizing, like in a job like this, if you're doing door to door, chances are you're an independent contractor. Some door to door salesmen, they get paid like per hour plus their commissions, which I don't like that. Not that I don't like, the pressure of not having to like necessarily get results. I think that's it's probably a double-edged sword. There's probably good and bad there, but I think for me, I'm all about, if I don't make results, I don't get paid. I think that's how it should be. I think the world is like that. If you're not producing value, you shouldn't be getting paid. You shouldn't be coasting off of, your pension fund or whatever it is. Maybe I'm being unfair, but I hope that you can see kind of where I'm coming from. When you're a young man and you're trying to get control over your life, you're trying to determine your future yourself rather than having it be determined for you, and being afraid that you're not necessarily fully in control of it, and that you're not necessarily you're not in the driver's seat, and especially like in a holistic sense. This hunter's mentality that will absolutely, door to door will absolutely demand from you, is the foundation of taking back that power and loving it. Okay, I really want to emphasize that. It does not, like, if you watch my videos from back in the day, I might have been bubbly or whatever, but I definitely didn't feel as in control of my life. And just like for the good and bad, I feel so in control, so in the driver's seat, and it's only growing stronger over time. I've been working this job for 3.5 months. Can you imagine what I'm going to be like in another 9 months? I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. I'm excited. But regardless, that's the hunter's mentality: clear, unapologetic, purposeful action, and that consistently owning the results that you're creating, and not passing off that, not just not passing it off to other people or situations and stuff, but taking that, I guess, just being relentless, being demanding of that from yourself on a daily basis. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4. So number 4, I actually just heard about in a meeting that I just got out of. And it's like, it kind of goes into the whole like hunter mentality. It's not quite as large looming as these other ones that I've given you, but I thought it was incredibly insightful because it is also widely applicable. And that's the whole like purpose of the video. The reason I think every young man should do door to door. It's not just like things that are only beneficial because like within the door to door world, but elsewhere as well. The things that you take away from door to door and profit from the rest of your life after you've tried it, gotten those skills and left. That's the whole idea. Number 4 is world building. What is world building? Well, I hadn't really heard that term. I guess I probably heard the term before, but I never really, again, the whole conscious, like, oh, this is a thing that should be focused on. It's an insight that is important and valuable, and you'll probably like kind of naturally pick it up as you go anyway. Why not take it into account as like a thing to focus on and consciously refine forwardly, rather than just kind of waiting for yourself to get better. World building is this: when you approach a customer or any person, you paint a picture for them, not just of what they're possibly going to get with your offer, but maybe it's like, it's hard to speak in abstract terms. An example would be, I'm out here pushing solar power. A world building scenario would be when I come to the customer, and I'm not just there, and I don't just say, hey, like, I'm with a solar company, my name's Xander, and are you interested in like learning about what we do, or like the kind of program that we have, or the savings that you could expect? Even that, like, it's not really building a world. Building a world would be like, hey, here's the reason I'm here. Austin Energy has a requirement, that's a utility company. They have a requirement to get 30% of their power from clean energy sources, from the federal government or from the state, from the government. They have a mandate to get 30% of their power now from clean energy. And they sent me out here, well, they didn't, my company did, Ion, in order to let folks know that, and let folks know that because of that, there's these incentives that they're pushing in order to get people on solar. So there's a huge push right now, and here's why. That's an example of, here's the world. Like, honestly, I'm not really feeling all that great about that. That's kind of my old version, and I'm tweaking that as, like, in my current life. Like, literally today, I'm going to go out and practice a new one. But the point is, you have a very specific, I'm not even sure, yeah, it has to be specific. It has to be it paints a, it gives them a sense of understanding. It gives them a sense of like, oh, okay, you know, he's not just some random guy. He's not just here doing some random stuff. You know, he's here for a purpose. It reinforces that hunter's mentality. He's here for a reason. Here's my role, or my offered role in this story. You know, it's a story, right? There's a story behind it, and it's clear, and it's compelling, and it makes sense, and it's like it puts this picture in their head of like, okay, you know, here's this piece and this piece, and before maybe I had like a kind of a, I'd heard about it, and you know, I heard about it going on, maybe like a distant family member had participated or whatever, but I didn't really get a chance to talk with them. And this is that, like, oh, like that totally makes sense. Like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. You know, I would love to get a report done. Does that make sense? So that's number 4. Let's wrap up. Number 1, not fearing rejection, because you're going to hear it again and again and again and again and again, and you'll learn it's not a big deal. I mean, you'll be able to laugh at it if you go about it with the right mentality, which is not really that hard. You just got to kind of laugh at everything. And I'm like that pretty naturally anyway. I crafted that back in the day. So, you know, it's not rocket science. It's really, it's the place to be. It's the way to live. Number 2, hunting mentality. I think number 2 is, no, reading people, whatever. Number 2, reading people. Like, they tell you this in poker. You don't play the cards, you don't play the hand, you don't play the like circumstances and whatever. You play the people that you're playing with. You want to understand, are they scared? Are they nervous? Are they desperate? What are they going through? And you're like, I know that now that I'm speaking in those terms, it probably sounds for some people like, oh, this doesn't really sound very good, right? I don't want to like take advantage of somebody being afraid. Right? In poker, that's kind of what you're doing. If you like see somebody's desperate or whatever, and you're trying to like make them pay for that, that's probably not very good. In sales, you might have the same kind of stereotype, but honestly, sales is, at least my belief, you are trying to find those certain pain points in a customer, but unlike when you're fighting against an enemy, where you find a pain point and you use it to weaken them, with sales, you're trying to find that pain point in order to then offer up a solution. So you're trying to get them, you're trying to understand their pain, both like in the larger picture of what you have to offer, but also in the moment, what they're feeling with it as far as like being dark or whatever. And then as soon as, like once you understand it, or you can assume that you understand it with the whole dark thing, once you understand it, then you chalk up the solution. Oh, like, yeah, sorry to bug you, sorry to catch you after dark, you know, I know it gets dark so early. So anyway, you know, just like quick and easy. That's a simple example. I know I'm getting excited. Okay, number 3, hunting mentality. Having a clear sense of direction, a clear purpose, a very specific reason why you're there. You're not just out there to be bubbly, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that. And I certainly come from that kind of background. I didn't want to push anything on people. I'm kind of naturally timid, you know, and that's another reason, that's another thing that goes into this hunter's mentality. You shouldn't feel ashamed about having something that you want, having something that you're after, being clear about that, being unapologetic, being unashamed about it, because, hey, it's natural. We all got to make money. We all have those biological urges. I'm not necessarily saying I subscribe to like just going freely and feeding it no matter what, but it's okay to have a purpose. It's okay to know what you're there for, what you need, what you want, and to not, like, basically it comes down in this job, it comes down to believing that what you have to offer them is miles above the small inconvenience of what you're asking for in return. That's like, you have that belief alone, man, this hunter's mentality is not going to be a problem at all. Number 4, world building. Doesn't really need much explanation. Just, having that in the back of your mind and then practicing it, just giving it a shot of like, here's the reason why I'm here, getting straight on your story, knowing your product, and that's in door-to-door, but taking that outside of door-to-door realm. Maybe you like approach some girl and you're like telling her some story about how you went, and this will come out naturally. It's not like you have to make this stuff up, you just kind of start living a cooler life and these things will naturally happen, oh yeah, we were, like last weekend I was hanging out with my buddy and like he said this and then like this other guy, he was laughing so hard he spit in the backseat and then it's like somebody pulled up and it's like I don't know, dude. It's just kind of a like I was saying earlier, gives them a sense of making sense, like they kind of get it. In that case scenario, what's speaking to me is more like, oh, like this is kind of your world, and you're bringing them into your world, and you're giving them an understanding of their role in it. So I don't know. That's all pretty much off the cuff, my friends. I was kind of rushing to put this video together, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I brought a little bit of energy from it. Whatever I lack in structure. I'm pretty hard on myself. I like to be very, very like clean, but I like to be and I want to I'm committed to doing these weekly, so I'm not going to let that get in the way anymore. And hopefully you can feel that as I grow and change from this door-to-door industry. You can you can see and feel the effects in my videos as they progress. So thank you for tuning in. I will see you next Saturday.